What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about Healthier Choices Management, tickers HCMC. I'm going to give you a good breakdown and overview of the data points, what they're truly saying, some latest updates from HCMC, but more specifically, something that HCMC needs to be doing right now to help their overall rollout. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get right to it. So currently trading at 0001, some pretty good volume getting in on Friday. So 583 million versus the average 356. Still a relatively small market cap, so around 34 million. Number of outstanding shares, or the float, is 322 versus 316 billion, so it did go up a little bit. And as you can see right here, it did break that 0001 mark, as I've said, and I did a video at the time. So let me know in the comments if you were able to take advantage of these discounted prices per se. But I think generally speaking, not even shorts are really getting in, as you can tell, other than this one blip right here. And normally shorts and OTC stocks kind of go hand in hand. So it looks like around, on average, 40% give or take of the daily volume is in fact shorts. So even in their case, they're not really getting in as much as they once were, because most likely at these levels, there's not much potential benefit. There's not much potential downside that could be had with HCMC unless they do a reverse split. But of course, they've already come out and said that they don't want to do that. That's the whole point of their 4-point plan. And as of late, there's no actual news from HCMC. So just be aware of that. On their actual website, no official update. So I'm really looking at their website as well to kind of monitor for any changes per se. And as far as news, on their website, the last one being February the 14th, and this is where they do announce their confidential submission of their registration statement for the spinoff. So in here, this is where they talk on HCWC is going to be the new kind of spinoff. They also say that they're expecting the spinoff to be completed in the first half of 2023. So give or take, they have around 3 months, 2 months, give or take, depending on how you see that. So that definitely will mean that there's a lot more changes coming forward, potentially, of course, because when it comes down to this, so they do indicate that they want to be on the New York Stock Exchange. I've already done videos on this based on my interpretation. I don't think they really qualify. More specifically, it'd be going to the NASDAQ. But one thing that they are really behind on is submitting financials. So the last submission was on November the 10th, I believe, and it's only up until September the 30th. So in reality, they're already 1 quarter behind. And in a couple days, they're going to be now 2 quarters behind. And for instance, when it comes down to the New York Stock Exchange and their kind of requirements, they have to be filed up to date and have certain amount of revenue coming in every single quarter. And unfortunately, given HCMC's past so far, they've not really qualified for the New York Stock Exchange, as I've said in previous videos. So most likely it's just going to be going to the NASDAQ, in my opinion, potentially, of course. Even at this stage, I don't think they necessarily qualify. What they would need to do is a reverse split, and they kind of call that out and say that they're not going to be doing that on their actual 4-point plan right here. So they actually say that they're not going to be doing a reverse split. As you can see, let's see, reverse split. They actually say right here, therefore, at this time, rather than propose a shareholder vote to approve a sizable reverse split, which may or may not be successful, and management and the board have decided upon a 4-point plan that has included the following. So the buyback of $5 million of HCMC stock, which I do believe that they've already started, a spinoff of certain HCMC assets. So the assets that they talk on is, for the most part, just the brick and mortar stuff. So the wellness center and also the actual grocery chain. So those are the ones that are going to be rolled out into HCWC. There's going to be a stock dividend date, which they haven't really announced the ex-dividend date as of right now. Then they're going to be doing a equity capital raise in the sum of around $13.25 million, which I do believe that they did do. So just be aware of that behind the scenes. But generally speaking, even to go on to, for instance, the NASDAQ, they need to be filed up to date for their financials. And like I said, have certain requirements in that regard. So in reality, I think they are going to be doing a reverse split and also need to submit a lot of their financials. So I know some of you might disagree with that, but if you look back on my previous videos, I go over the NASDAQ requirements and also the New York Stock Exchange requirements. And it basically, as of right now, they don't kind of qualify. And for instance, if they're going to roll out HCWC into the over-the-counter exchange, I think that's just the stupidest idea and kind of defeats the purpose of getting shareholder value. And there was this that was posted on Twitter as well, and it looks like they did a poll, but it looks like 83% of HCMC, or people who did the vote at least, believe that the CEO, Jeff Holman, doesn't necessarily care about shareholders. And ever since it's been announced about this whole 4-point plan, it's just gone down. So once again, I think in the short term, they definitely do need to submit their updated financials. And at that stage, then we'd be able to properly assess to see if they do qualify, for instance, the New York Stock Exchange that they plan on rolling out, that they've mentioned, I think, 2 or 3 times already in the past, or if the NASDAQ is the next best step. Because like I said, when it comes down to NASDAQ, they don't necessarily care about the financials as much as, for instance, the New York Stock Exchange, but they care about the share price. It needs to be over $4 per share, meaning they would have to do a reverse split. So again, that's just behind the scenes. As far as some other updates, there's been a lot of Form 4 submitted, so it does look like Jeff Holman unfortunately has been selling a small amount of shares. So some sales did occur on the 17th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd, but like I said, all very much small stuff. There's also Christopher Santi did also sell some on the 20th and also the 23rd. So once again, very, very small amounts in reality. So definitely something to keep in mind, but they also do have a sizable amount of actual, looks like employee stock options. And most likely before the rollout, those are going to be exercised. So there might be a little bit more of a bump up in the number of shares out there. Potentially, of course. But keep in mind, I'm not a financial advisor, so you guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day. I found this interesting on their Reddit for HCMC, so price targets. This one, again, I just want to get your viewpoint because potentially of the new rollout. So the whole new rollout is going to basically, for the most part, be these assets right here. So the grocery chain and the wellness center. I got into HCMC mostly because of the whole lawsuit, but I actually grew to really like, for instance, the qcup vape store, and then a little bit more so the vitamin store, because all of those have fairly fat profit margins. Unfortunately, these two do not. So I'm really curious to see if anyone truly does like, for instance, the rollout. And I get it. A lot of these are good, better things for the economy, better things for people. But as far as from a profitability standpoint, these aren't necessarily the best ones to really rally behind. So seeing this individual's price targets and predictions is very interesting because from the get-go, he's automatically comparing HCMC to Walmart. So Walmart being a $376 billion market cap company with around 11,000 stores. So he does all the math, as you can kind of see here, but he does project roughly in around 4 to 8 years, HCMC would be around 5 to 8 cents, if not higher. So at the end of the day, there is a lot of interesting mentalities behind the scenes. I think this one is just so far-fetched. And unfortunately, like I said, the profit margins on, for instance, these two assets right here is around 5%, 5 to 10%, which is absolutely nothing. And you can also tell that based on their actual earnings as well. These are not profitable assets. Plain and simple. HCMC is not profitable, and the whole fact about their whole 4-point plan being that they're going to turn a profit immediately is very questionable. So I definitely am very curious. That's one thing about this whole spinoff. Has me very, very curious on how they're going to do it and how they're going to be successful, and if maybe they're going to be hitting that 5 to 8 cent mark in 4 to 8 years. But of course, I could be very much wrong about that. But no matter what, like I said, in the short term, they definitely do need to submit their updated financials. And then from there, you'd be able to judge to see if New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, or OTC is viable options for exchanges. So let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. If you do like my HCMC content and want to support the channel, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on HCMC.